It's time to sit down and talk with someone who's making a big impact on the game of disc golf. There are few people who have made as big an impact in as short amount of time as four-time women's world champion Juliana Korver. Juliana joins us today, and thanks and welcome to Disctv.
Thank you.
Let's talk right off the bat about the 4 world championships. Elaine King, who held the previous crown, won 5 times. You've won 4 in a row. If you win in 2002, you will have matched her record.
Exactly. Elaine was absolutely the dominant player in the early 90s, and she took 4 consecutive world titles and then had a actually got a thorn in her hand and had to take a year off, was a slow start coming back, and then won again 2 years later. So she's got 5 titles and 4 of them consecutive.
So if you were to get a 5th world title this year, you would in fact have a brand new record because yours would all be consecutive.
True.
Now the competition's getting tougher. You know that the level of play is going up. What are your thoughts on this year in Houston?
I think Houston is going to be a really close match. It's very true that the level of competition is getting harder. There are some super female golfers out there. Of course, Elaine is always right there. Leslie Herndon coming on strong, taking 2nd last year, and she's just a phenomenal putter. Des Redding playing super this year as well, and she is a really strong thrower as well as a good putter. So yeah, the competition is going to be there.
The World Championships this year will be in Houston in August. It's going to be hot and muggy. Are you prepared for that kind of weather?
Yeah, we've been putting in the sauna and trying to. No, I don't know. Been trying to figure out how to get a good grip with the heat conditions, whether to use a chalk bag or whether to use a towel. Just trying to get out and play in similar conditions and make sure that we're in good enough shape to sustain the heat.
Last year, a real exciting moment in your disc golf career. You were chosen, along with Barry Schultz, to represent the United States at the World Games, and you played disc golf.
That was absolutely the most amazing experience I've ever had in my life. It was, before we went over, I mean, the thought of playing on a national level like that was amazing. But once we got there, it was so much more than I expected. The opening ceremonies, they had a stadium filled to capacity, and we all did the athletes march through the stadium, and before we came in, they had parachuters with the flags on their parachutes come in, and the music was blaring, and the crowd was, I mean, totally goosebumps all over my body, and you felt like you were part of something, you were a part of something bigger. And disc golf was being legitimate, it was a legitimate sport in this national competition. And we got a lot of recognition while we were there. We had a lot of the people that were in charge of the games watching our competition, especially the final aspects of it, and a lot of good press, and just the way that they treated the athletes, not just us, but everybody there. It was amazing.
Now, I should explain to our viewers that the World Games last year in 2001 were held in Akita, Japan, and essentially the World Games are a stepping stone into the Olympics. So for the first time, disc golf was a medal sport at the World Games, and we could be seeing Juliana perhaps in the next Summer Olympics throwing disc golf.
Certainly this is a stepping stone to that. I don't think it's going to be catapulted that quickly, but this, if we do eventually want to get into Olympics, and who in our sport would not want to be there, this is the route that we need to take to get there.
Now, I know the competition for you was close. Tell us about it.
The competition, well, the way that we played it this year was a match play, or last year, it was match play. There were 6 countries represented. Each country got to choose 1 man and 1 woman to play. The women then matched up on day 1 and played everybody round robin style for 9 holes. The top 2 scorers, the top 2 finishers then would play each other the next day for the gold medal. And then the 2nd, or the 3rd and 4th place would play each other for the bronze medal. And the top countries in the women's division were the United States, Sweden, and then Canada, followed by Great Britain. So I was matched up with Nilafar from Sweden, who is just a little spark plug. She's not very big, but she can throw a mile. I bet she can easily throw her 400 feet, and she's just a tiny little thing. And we played a final 18-hole match. The way that they set it up, the men played it right in front of us, so they would play a hole, and then we would follow and play a hole so that the gallery could see everybody. They could watch, I'm sorry, we would play first, and then the guys would follow. And Barry was playing against the Canadian player, Mike Sullivan. And Barry had a really good medal round and ended up getting enough points so that Mike couldn't come back and beat him by about the 14th hole. And they stopped play for him right there because
the match was won.
The match was won. And at that point, everybody was celebrating. I was expecting Barry to take it easy and to go back. Well, by this time, I was down by two points with, I think we had 4 or 5 holes left. 5 holes left, down by 2. And the first thing that Barry did was walk right over to me, look me in the eye, and said, "Now it's your turn." So the pressure was on, and it meant a lot to me, not only because it was a come-from-behind victory, but also my parents were there to watch it, and the crowd and the national, it was, like I said, it was easily the most memorable and exciting moment in my career.
You came back. You did win the gold medal.
I did. It came down to the last hole. We were tied going into the last hole, and I ended up winning that hole by a stroke.
What a finish. What a thrill. So the gold medal now, where is that?
It's at my dad's house. When we flew in and out of Minneapolis because that's where the World Championships were held, and my dad lives close to there, and so he was the first person that we visited, and I asked if he could store it for me instead of keeping it with us on the road. It's heavy too.
Well, I would hope so. All right, let's talk a little bit about women in the game. We have a lot of viewers who are brand new players, and if anyone can help them with some tips, I know, Juliana Korver, that you can. There are some things that you see a lot as far as mistakes that people are making in their form and their throwing style. What do you recommend to the players? Brand new players,
the most common mistake is to throw the disc like it were a frisbee that you were going to play catch with. And what they do is they bring it down low with what we would call hyzer angle, and they don't ever give the disc a chance to fly flat and straight. And for a backhanded right-hand thrower, that means the disc is going to just go up and dive left and not go very far, and that can get frustrating over and over again. So the best thing to do is to get a disc that's not necessarily very stable, maybe a putter, maybe a mid-range, and try to concentrate on keeping it flat or even trying to turn it over to the right. What you're doing and what you think you're doing aren't necessarily the same thing when you begin playing.
So keep the disc flat.
Keep the disc flat.
And start with maybe a putter or an approach disc so it won't get away from you.
Exactly. Learn, I recommend starting with one disc. Learn that disc. When you can control it, you can make it go right, you can make it go left, you can make it go relatively straight. Then you're ready to move up to a driver or some other disc, and don't overload yourself right away with a full bag.
If I'm a brand new player and I'm going to go out and buy my first disc, is there 1 or 2 models that you might recommend?
There's so many discs out there right now. Maybe 5, 10 years ago, well, I wasn't playing 10 years ago, but maybe I could have said, this is the disc. Now, an AVR, a rock, a spider, any blunt edge disc, I think, is a pretty good start.
She's been called the greatest ambassador in disc golf history, and she's Juliana Korver. Juliana, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you.